Before we start, I think it's very important to explain that this battle is probably going to be more on the subjective side. There is no objective way to say exactly how powerful Whis is. However, I have found a very good formula, in my opinion, to actually calculate the power of Whis, and I will actually be starting off this video by explaining how that might work. However, I'm not going to say I disagree with anybody that disagrees with my stance. Like I said, Whis' power has never been explained. For all we know, Whis might pull a Jiren and Goku and might be infinitely stronger than everyone else in the tournament they've been fighting so far. So, you know, it's just how Dragon Ball works. But for now, we will be using the anime and the manga. I know the scaling is different in both of them. I've made a video on manga Goku versus anime Goku. I've acknowledged they have different scaling. Although I think they use similar lore, per se. We will be using the lore of both of them. I also found this video very relevant. I know a lot of people are like, this video is irrelevant. Like, why are you making this? It's because this video will answer many questions in the debate community, including Jiren versus Beerus. How strong is Jiren compared to the Angels? How strong are the Angels? How strong is Vegito? It just answers so many things, and I think it's really important and really fun to do. And if you guys like my content, you like what I do, maybe you've seen me before and you never hit that subscribe button, please consider doing it. I put a lot of effort into my videos, and I'd really appreciate it. Alright, so as promised, I'm going to start off with Whis, just a tad bit. It kind of requires both of them to kind of scale how powerful Whis is, and it requires some more scaling with Goku, which I'll go into in a second. But I will be using for Whis the Toriyama God Scale. Now, by Toriyama God Scale, I don't mean in the linear sense. Obviously, the Toriyama God Scale is not linear, and this will be important for Vegito as well. This is kind of how you determine it. But the Toriyama God Scale is important because it signifies something, and that something is Goku is a 6, Beerus is a 10, and Whis is a 15. And while you may not believe this is linear, which it's not, because even Kaioken times 2 Goku is not stronger than Beerus, who would be at least a 12 on this list, it should be noted that Toriyama just said that the difference between Goku and Beerus is less than the difference between Beerus and Whis. So, if we find the difference between God Goku and Beerus, we can somewhat find the difference between Beerus and Whis, and therefore we can find a level to scale off of for Vegito. And using this scale only dictates vaguely the difference between Whis and Beerus and how it's larger than the difference between initial God Goku and Beerus. This is important because we know that Goku has gotten hundreds to possibly thousands of times more powerful and was still considered below Beerus until just recently when he unlocked Ultra Instinct. To give an example of this, let's go over the power of Goku. We'll say that God Goku, when he fought Beerus, is a 1, right? Starting off, Goku's base, it absorbed Super Saiyan God and became stronger. And the Fukatsu no F guides, it was stated, you know, the Saiyans have godly bases that surpass, you know, the gods. Super Saiyan Blue is stated blatantly to surpass, you know, the godly form of Super Saiyan God. The narrators, like, yeah, he surpassed the god. Even the episode title was Surpass Super Saiyan God. And it was very clear that base Goku absorbed Super Saiyan God into his base power level, which is why he's able to even stack Super Saiyan God again later on in the show. Although stacking Super Saiyan God onto this is much different than the initial ritual, it should be noted that he did absorb Super Saiyan God into his base form, and this is made very apparent throughout the series. I will also be going over the possibility if Goku didn't absorb it, for those of you who deny that, just for the sake of being, you know, as unbiased as possible. But if we do use the absorbed God Goku thing, then he would be insanely powerful. For one, it should be noted that he trained for many years on top of this godly base with Whis and with Vegeta for a few years in the time chamber. Although it's subjective how big of a boost this training did give him. We then know that for a fact Goku faces Goku Black and surpasses his own Kaioken times 10 by the time he fights Hit in the second round. For example, Goku fights Kaioken times 10 against Hit in the Universe 6 tournament, and then after the Goku Black arc, him and Hit tie without him using Kaioken times 10, and he even states Hit is more powerful in the second round. This means if we ignore the subjective training boost of the few years with Vegeta, that he got over 10 times more powerful since he trained with Whis and fought Frieza. We also know Goku was able to then use a Kaioken times 20 versus Jiren and a Super Spirit Bomb, with nobody claiming Jiren was above God of Destruction tier until he glared away the Super Spirit Bomb, at least in the anime. The Super Spirit Bomb has a subjective strength beyond Kaioken times 20, but it is objective to say it's at least stronger than Kaioken times 20. This means Jiren is over Kaioken times 40 by glaring, and this was just enough to surpass the Gods of Destruction as stated by Whis. Whis stated no god, there's a mortal that no God of Destruction can defeat, and he's like, yeah, the mortal seems to be true, so he's implying that Jiren is above the Gods of Destruction, with the Supreme Kai even stating Jiren's power is stronger than anything they've ever faced before. And yes, the Supreme Kai is referring to strength, as right after this he does say Jiren is strong, plain and simple. Now some speculate that this doesn't mean Beerus, since Beerus may be the strongest God of Destruction. However, many things should be noted here. Beerus is comparable to another God of Destruction, Quitela. Whether that may be the strongest or not, it should also be noted that Beerus and Quitela were fatigued from beating up all the other Gods of Destruction before facing each other, implying there isn't, like, say, a massive gap between them. They are at least relative enough to at least tire and challenge Beerus. Another important note is that Vermod was completely unscratched after facing the gods, and even rejected being healed by his angel. It could be implied he played dead early in the fight, which is why he didn't get damaged, but it should be noted that right after this, he shows he was just toying around, that Topo stated Jiren is even stronger than he is. This, alongside the not even the God of Destruction can beat Jiren, supports Beerus is weaker than Jiren. It's also very apparent as well, since Whis also hints Jiren's state probably surpasses a God's even when suppressed. Now, continuing on, if we say Goku absorbed Super Saiyan God into his base form and got over 10 times stronger over the arcs, lowballing from all the training and fights he went through, then through the equivalent of a Kaioken times 40 Spirit Bomb, lowballing the Spirit Bomb, Jiren and him pushing this was considered God of Destruction level or beyond, then we have a somewhat valid scale here. We'll use the super exciting guide multipliers here and say Super Saiyan 3 is a 400 times multiplier, with Super Saiyan God being considered even higher than that, with Blue being even higher than that. Blue's multiplier is only suggested in the manga, where it's stated Blue Vegeta is at 1/10 his power is weaker than Super Saiyan God or Red Goku, implying Goku is likely around 2/10 of Vegeta at his blue power and beyond. To lowball, we will say Super Saiyan God is equal to Super Saiyan 3 as to not trigger anybody. I don't want to say Super Saiyan God is infinitely stronger than 3 or something. And as to not trigger anyone else, we'll also say that Blue is just 5 times as Super Saiyan God. Feel free to use your own calculations with that. The result will basically be the same regardless. This would put Super Saiyan Blue Tournament of Power over 2,000 times more powerful than the initial God Goku when he first attained God Ki, even lowballing extremely. Then multiplied by 40 times for a Kaioken times 20 Spirit Bomb, and you'd have around the 80,000 range to reach or surpass Beerus from his initial God state. If you don't accept Goku absorbing God into his base ki and multiplying it with the Super Saiyan forms, even though it's stated in multiple different sources by the narrator, by guides, etc., then Goku would simply be the same, but without the Super Saiyan 3 multipliers being stacked onto that, which would be 10 times for how strong he got over time, and 5 times for Blue onto God, and then times 40 for the Kaioken times, the Kaioken times 40 bomb, making him still over 2,000 times stronger for non-God absorbed scaling. This means in Toriyama's initial God scale, God Goku 6 to Beerus' 10 is almost a 2,000 through 80,000 times difference on the low end. However, you could also argue, since Jiren and Goku shook Infinity, that they'd be a level of Infinity alongside Beerus, who possibly scales to be stronger than Infinite Zamasu, who surpasses space and time itself since he absorbed it. However, Goku did swap blows with Jiren even after he shook Infinity with Kaioken times 20 and did survive the encounter, even if Jiren was suppressed. So it should be noted that they are all some level of Infinity with varying degrees and shouldn't be used in this argument regardless, because obviously you could argue many of these characters were already at some kind of infinite tier anyway, since they were shaking endless universes as stated in the Daizenshu. Whether you agree with that or not, Goku did survive an encounter with a being who, even suppressed, was shaking Infinity. Now, Whis is even higher than the difference between Goku and Beerus. He's in fact a +5 increase on the God scale, whereas before it was a +4 for Goku to Beerus, meaning that bare minimum, the difference should be at least plus 25%, meaning Whis is anywhere between 2,500 through 100,000 times stronger than Beerus or the Kaioken times 20 Super Spirit Bomb. You could also argue Whis is a different level of infinity, although for the sakes of finding an answer, let's not assume too much and use what we're actually been given here. Now that we've found Whis' general level, let's go over Ultra Instinct Vegito and how that would possibly look. Vegito Ultra Instinct is a very interesting discussion because the multiplier for Vegito is a very debatable thing. In the super exciting guided state of Vegito's power is Goku X Vegeta, although X in Japan can either mean multiplied or and. Although for the sake of this, it is used in a page that has multipliers right next to it. Although, like I said, it is subjective what that means. And in the Daizenshu, it's noted base Vegito is even stronger than Super Saiyan 3, who is already times 400 Goku to begin with. Now, let's go over both options and conclude who would win this given the proper scenario. Scenario 1 is that Vegito becomes a plot device and is Goku's power multiplied by Vegeta's, which using Ultra Instinct to shook infinity would be a literal level of infinity squared by another one. An example, a higher level of infinity. Basically, just because you're infinite doesn't mean you're unbeatable. There are levels of infinity in fiction and numerous forces, so I'm not saying they beat everyone in fiction. I want to make that very clear. There are people that would beat them. This could also make sense if you consider that Super Vegito versus Buhan were on the verge of collapsing the whole living endless universe via dimensional collapse, while Goku normally around this time was only in the galactic to multi-galaxy levels, scaling off of Kid Buu, who destroying the universe within the lifetime of a Kaioshin over time would be multi-galaxy, at least bare minimum. Or you could use the base Vegito greater than the Super Saiyan 3, or possibly Blue, if you use the manga, in which Vegito is only 400 times stronger than Goku, and Ultra Instinct is simply above all the gods of destruction, who are a 10 on this scale. If you use this, then Vegito would fall flat of even 1/5 of the lowest possible level for Whis compared to Beerus. However, if Vegito's base form was possibly stronger than Blue or Super Saiyan Blue, as implied in the Super manga when he shot Zamasu's arm off out of nowhere, and Zamasu seemed somewhat worried, then his base would be, as calculated before, would be over 2,000 times more powerful than Goku. However, even this is not enough for Whis' absolute bare minimum 2,500 times from Beerus. It could be possible to give Vegito the benefit of the doubt and say Goku is a bit stronger than Beerus alone. However, that's where subjective opinions come into play. Although I wouldn't disagree with saying Ultra Instinct Vegito lowballed could be scaled to a lowballed Whis, even if the evidence isn't 100% certain. I simply want to go with the more objective stance here. If you highball Vegito and say his power is easily billions-fold times stronger by scaling the nigh-universal Super Vegito to the multi-galactic Super Saiyan 3 Goku from the Buu arc, or even go above and beyond to say he would be an infinite Goku multiplied by an infinite Vegeta, then a highballed Vegito would absolutely slaughter Begone Thought Whis, whose max is only 100,000 times Beerus, highballing, until more evidence is given and we learn more about them. And before I end the video today, I thought it'd be kind of important, because I know someone's out there like, well, I think Jiren himself could beat Whis, let alone Ultra Instinct Vegito, and I have to disagree a tad bit. I mean, for all we know, Jiren might pull out some kind of power out of his ass and be insanely more powerful than we've ever thought or have seen so far. But from what we've seen thus far is that Ultra Instinct Goku just mastering the ability of self-movement and breaking his limits is enough to be on Jiren's level and tag him and hurt him, and even get the upper hand on him at some points, although you could imply Jiren is suppressed. However, it is very important because all the angels naturally have an ability that should be greater than Goku's Ultra Instinct simply because it takes no stamina and it is insanely natural to them. And it should also be noted that the Grand Priest was unsure. He said maybe we should give it some more time to see if Goku has Ultra Instinct. So even then, it seems like the level they were at was nothing like the angels. And it should be noted that characters like Whis have full control over time, So it doesn't really make sense that Jiren would be above the angels per se. A lot of people like to bring up Vermod, like, oh, Vermod said he won't lose to anybody. Yet here's Vermod freaking out about Jiren about to lose to the spirit bomb, right? So it's more like Vermod is just projecting that nobody, even God's Destruction, can beat him, because the power of the angels is very unknown, even to the Gods of Destruction. So, but other than that, I want to hear your opinions on how this debate would work. Personally, this is the best argument I could come up with. I know the God scale is a little bit iffy. Toriyama, when he made that, he's like, I didn't really plan much for the future of Super. However, he does seem, with this scale, to be implying that Whis is at a completely different level than Beerus is, if Beerus and Goku have a less difference than Whis to Beerus. Personally, I have no problem saying Whis and Vegito would be very close in power, although I do think it's more appropriate to say that with Whis' much more natural use of Ultra Instinct and his higher stamina, and his ability to rewind and control and see different points in time and casually move to other timelines and different futures, it's more logical to assume that if they were equal, that Whis would stomp, even with the combined combat intellect of Goku and Vegeta. And yes, Whis, even going back in time, can actually not influence the timeline, as shown in the revival of F arc when Whis went back in time and it didn't create a new timeline. In my opinion, that's actually where the 3-minute rule comes into play, so as if it's not above 3 minutes, then they wouldn't affect the timeline or create a new one. And it also should be noted that when they do travel back in time, at least as an angel, it doesn't create clones of themselves. So it does show a very good control over time, that Vegito, even if he does transcend time like Jiren does, and, you know, he can resist some hacks, Whis can still travel back in time and, in fact, do some damage or change his combat strategy that may have not worked previously. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and be sure to subscribe if you liked the video. Maybe leave a like on it, you know, support the channel. Until next time.